Welcome to Help, I Have Kids. I'm your host, Pam Marshall, a mom of 5 and a pediatric occupational therapist with over 35 years experience. This podcast is designed to equip you with practical tools, insights from experts, and real life stories. Because at the end of the day, you are the head of your child's care team. Each week, you'll hear from pediatric experts and fellow moms like you that will help build your confidence. They'll offer clarity and empower you to make informed decisions that work for your whole family. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Help, I Have Kids. We're another episode, and today we're meeting someone who's been an incredible advocate for herself. And moms, I know you out there, you're really advocating hard for your children, or you're willing to learn how. And today, Maddi is going to help us with advocacy. So Maddi, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell us something about who you are.
Hi, Pam. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. So happy to be here and speak to everyone. My name is Maddi Niebanck. I am a young hemorrhagic stroke survivor, a public speaker, social media content creator, and disability advocate, and author.
That's pretty impressive. And I have the fortunate experience of knowing you, and that feels fun. We're not in the same room today, but we have been in the same room before, and you're just a magnificent person, and I'm looking forward to our audience getting to know you today. So you were pretty young when you had your stroke. How old were you?
When I had the stroke, I was 22. It was 10 days after I graduated from college, actually.
So you had your whole future ahead of you, and I'm sure it was a shock for both you and your whole family, your experience.
Yeah, no, it was actually quite crazy. So after I graduated college, I went in for a scheduled brain surgery because I had a rare condition known as an arteriovenous malformation, or an AVM for short. Now, I learned growing up that most people who have AVMs never know that they have this rare condition because it might not present any symptoms or anything. You might never know until you end up having a stroke, and it's too late at that point. The only reason I knew about it, Pam, is because since I was 7 years old, I'd been getting severe, debilitating migraines. I don't know if any of the moms listening on this podcast get migraines, but I would get migraines with aura. So my whole vision clouded over. I couldn't see anything.
Wow.
Searing pain. The only thing that would help, I've tried every migraine medication under the sun. None of it really worked. I would just have to lay down in a dark and silent room and vomit like 20 times. Nothing made me feel better.
That is really horrible.
It was, yeah. And this is when I was a little kid, right? And so it really was a disruption to my schooling. And when I was 15, I had a migraine that lasted 24 days in a row, 2 years in a row. So I had to go to the ER multiple times. I was getting all these different medications. We didn't know why this was happening. My neurologist, surprise, surprise, goes, well, this is not normal. We should probably get a brain scan and check this out to see if there's anything. So the MRI is what revealed that I had this AVM, this congenital condition. Essentially, for those who don't know, an AVM is an abnormal tangle of blood vessels in the brain that don't have capillaries. So with the blood flow being extremely unregulated, I started consulting with lots of neurosurgeons to see what my options were. They told me, with each year of life is an increased chance of the ticking time bomb rupturing, with a 50% chance that it'll rupture at some point in your life. And if it does, a 10% chance of death. So I didn't like those odds.
Wow.
I really didn't like that.
You were so young to be faced with that serious news.
Yeah. And then, getting contrasting opinions from the doctors about what was the best course of action. My family and I ultimately decided, because here's the thing, my AVM was so large. Most of the neurosurgeons I met with said, we don't feel comfortable doing an operation of this scale. And a smaller percentage said, your AVM is so big, this is a real threat and it needs to be removed immediately.
Yeah.
So I ultimately decided I was going to go in for the surgery. So I did that right after I finished at college.
Wow. And then you were hit. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. But before we dive into that, um, tell me something fun because you are quite the adventurer. Our audience doesn't know. You travel, you do not let your disability slow you down in any way, shape, or form. You are just marching through life adventurously. And so tell us something fun you've done like in the last couple months.
So you're right. Yeah, I don't let my disability stop me. In fact, I feel like I'm just encouraged to go out and do more
Mhm.
with my life, maybe than I was before. But in the past few months, so like a month ago, I spent some time in Spain, in the north of Spain, as well as in Amsterdam. I also last month went to the Sundance Film Festival, which was the last one in Park
Wow.
City. Um, I was actually at NeuroAnimation at the time, and I flew from NeuroAnimation to Park City right before the snowstorm
Uh-huh.
happened. But yeah, that was super fun.
That's so fun. What was your favorite food in Spain? I hear their food is amazing.
Oh, I love the tapas. I love the
Uh-huh.
tapas so much. All of them. Like it's all so
Yeah.
good. Croquetas. I like
Mhm.
tortilla. I was in the north of
Yum.
Spain and the seafood is really good there.
So were you able to understand
Like
most
the
of their
language?
language? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm fluent in Spanish. So
Oh, you are.
I can speak, yes. I don't speak the Basque language, which is like specific to País Vasco, which is the north of Spain where I was.
Uh-huh.
But most everyone speaks Spanish anyways, so it's fine.
Yeah, so that was a lot easier than for most of us going there, I'm sure, for you to have that skill. That's really neat. Um, so what's something, you've been through this devastating experience. We'll talk more about it throughout the episode, but what's something you still kind of grieve after your stroke? Because you had the surgery, had a stroke. What's something you really still grieve?
Honestly, so I grieve the loss of my voice. I was a singer before this happened, and
Oh, wow.
while I was a singer, and while I obviously have my speaking voice, I've gone through tons of speech, cognitive, physical, occupational therapy. I guess
Yeah.
we'll talk about it in a bit, like what exactly happened, but my I have apparently vocal cord paralysis, which is why it's really hard for me to sing now. So that
Oh,
I miss, but I hope maybe with the right coaching, I might be able to recover it. But life is
yeah.
busy, and I haven't had the chance to do that yet.
I really feel emotional right now thinking about that loss for you. Um, just I've always desired in my life to be able to sing, but I literally, Maddie, have no connection. Like my voice,
You
my
can
ear,
always learn. It's just
like,
breathing. You
oh
have to
no,
learn how
no,
to
it's
breathe.
like I'm pretty sure the synapses are cut. They're not connected.
Oh,
I just can't do it. But I know my heart desires to sing beautifully, so I can't imagine having that ability and then losing it. Like that would just be a heartbreak for sure. So thanks for sharing that with us. What's an adventure you haven't taken yet, but you want to take? Like what's something fun you're looking forward to?
so I actually one of my upcoming trips that I'll be doing. Well, there's a lot that I'm really excited for, but the one I'll share is I do group trips to connect the stroke survivor and disability community and bring them together while
Uh-huh.
exploring a new place together. I'm doing one of these trips to Greece in September, so I'm really excited to go to Athens and Santorini and be with members. I already have 9 people who are signed up, and people still can
Wow.
sign up, so I'm hoping that more will. But it's just been a great way to like bring the disability and brain injury community together while like both having a brand new experience.
Yeah. So I love that about you. You have your own social media following and account, and you just create community wherever you go. And it's so important to
Mm,
just in everyone's life to have your people and have community and live life not alone. And, a young survivor or an older stroke survivor, it can be very isolating. And I love that about you that you connect
thank
people.
you.
It's really amazing what you've done because you could just be sitting home alone crying and being mad and being depressed. And instead, you've turned that pain into just something beautiful and you're making others' lives better because of the way you handle that.
Yeah, and thank you. And that was something that I learned pretty early on in my stroke recovery. At first, initially, I thought, why did this happen to me? This sucks. But
Right.
then I realized I'm not just going to wake up one day and be better and back to who I was and resume my life. Like, this is going to be a
Mhm.
lifelong process for me. And my favorite saying is obstacles are opportunities. So I've really
Love
tried to
that.
channel that into every decision I make in my life and view the obstacles that come my way, be it a stroke, or if you're a mom, like, I don't
Mhm.
know, problems with your children or with moving or relationships. It could be anything. I try to view it all as an opportunity and how can I turn this into something good for myself and grow from it.
Yeah, I love that. I've met moms that have that same attitude for their children, you know? I just love fierce moms that have that. So I
Mm.
think there's probably some moms listening today that this will be encouragement to them that they can adopt that as well. Like the obstacles my child faces or that I face advocating for my child, it's just an opportunity.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
yeah, that's really great. So fill us in a little bit. We went as far to talk about, you had this stroke or you had this surgery, and during the surgery, you had a stroke. Tell us what that looked like and what your journey through that was.
Yeah, so basically, I ultimately decided that I did want to get brain surgery to remove the risk of having a brain bleed. So I said I'm going to finish college and then I'm going to go in for the brain surgery and, rest and recover over the summer and then I'll be able to move and start a job. So I graduated from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. back in 2017. 10 days later, I'm going into the hospital and I was so excited. I didn't really have any qualms about getting the procedure done. I thought this is just something I need to
Yeah.
do. I'd gotten a job lined up. I was going to move up to Boston and start my career in technology sales, which was not necessarily a career that I was super passionate about, but it was a job that
Mhm.
I got out of college. And so I was just excited to take that next step. So 10 days after I'm getting my diploma, I check into the hospital. And because my AVM in my brain was so big, there had to be some preoperative procedures before the actual removal of the AVM. The preoperative procedures caused a blood clot in my brain, which burst. So I was in the hospital awaiting a scheduled brain surgery when I end up having an emergency surgery because the just pre-ops went wrong. And I
Wow.
remember the last thing I remember was laying in like the hospital bed waiting to, like, recovering and just waiting for my surgery
Mhm.
the next morning, and my mom was sitting next to me and I was crying. I have a very, very high tolerance for pain, Pam, and like my whole life I get these terrible migraines and it just
Yeah.
like whatever, life goes on. But I was bawling and my mom pulled the nurse aside and said she never cries, like something is not right, like. And sure enough, next thing I pass out, I suppose, and then I'm having a stroke, and the neurosurgeon has to come rushing back to perform my surgery. I was told he pulled my parents aside, my mom and my dad, like as he was rushing me into the OR, and said, "The situation is grim." That's the exact words he said to them. The
Wow.
situation is grim. I lost 13 liters of blood. It was just not looking good. He said he didn't
Wow.
think I was going to come out alive. And if by some miracle I did come out alive, didn't know if I would ever be able to walk, talk, live independently, anything. So my whole family was a mess. I have
I
two
bet they
siblings
were.
as well. So they were a mess. And, I get rushed into the surgery. He is able to stop the bleeding and remove the AVM. I was in a medically induced coma. And when I woke up, I found out I was completely paralyzed on my dominant left side of my body.
Ugh.
So
As an OT, that's like a dagger, your
like
dominant left
everything,
side.
my
Yeah.
dominant side. So my arm and leg, I had no trunk support, so I couldn't even
Yeah.
sit up in a wheelchair or in a bed by myself. The left side of my face, I couldn't speak or swallow. I lost all of the left side vision out of both of my eyes, so I don't have any peripheral vision on the left side, which I live independently in New York City, and it causes problems sometimes walking down the crowded streets when
Oh, I'm
people cut
sure
you
it
off.
does.
I'm like, I literally can't see, and I'm even like scanning around looking.
Yeah, I bet that is challenging because people walk fast there, and
They do,
there's a
yes.
lot of them in New York City, lots of them. So, you had this happen, you were inpatient for a while, and then did you go to rehab? Like, was that your next step, and what did that look
Yes.
like? And
Yeah. So basically, so when I woke up from the coma, I was
Mhm.
in the hospital in the ICU for like 15 days. And then they discharged me to an inpatient facility that was near where my parents lived in New Jersey. So I went to Kessler in West Orange and I spent 5 weeks inpatient there where I did, all of the therapies:
Yeah. Yeah.
physical, occupational, cognitive speech, learned how to walk with a cane. Then after that, I got discharged to outpatient therapy, and I did outpatient therapy 5 days a week, and then eventually cut down to 3 days a week or something
Mhm.
like that. And I did outpatient therapy very consistently for 2.5 years. Then the pandemic happened.
And then 2020 happened.
Yes, yeah, and then it was the
Yeah.
pandemic, and I didn't go into OT or PT or cognitive speech, any of
Yeah.
that. But yes, I've gone through a lot of it, and I'm still working on it, and I'm almost 9
Yeah.
years out.
And, what a lot of listeners may not realize is when you've had a big neurologic incident like a stroke or a TBI, but especially stroke, you usually get better, get better, get better, and you hit this plateau. And it's
Right.
known in rehab, I'm an OT, been an OT all my life, that you hit this plateau and it's very hard to make gains the past that time period. Like your gains are very minor and very difficult. So you were on a journey for a bunch of years without intervention. And then I don't even remember how you got connected to neuroanimation. So let me just give a little background. Neuroanimation is an incredible new technology type of therapy that's helping people move again, restore memory, cognition, executive function. We've had dyslexia, decoding words, just all kinds of gains because of what it does. But you got connected to this new innovative treatment. You heard about it, and what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so I guess I'll preface this by saying, like, I have been very fortunate and blessed in my journey that my cognitive and speech functions came back on the quicker side. For me, my
Yeah.
main deficit at this time is obviously visual, but then physical with my left arm and hand. I can walk and that's
Mhm.
fine, but I always want to improve my foot drop. I want my arm and hand to get better, and I really, really want my left hand back because it is my dominant hand.
Yes.
So when I
And so
found
your arm was pretty stuck in a pretty fixed
yes, so I
position
the
without
first
being able to assist your other hand in doing
Or
things.
if anything, it
Yeah.
assists for stabilization,
Mhm.
stabilizing, like, while I use my right hand to do stuff. So, anyways, I had plateaued. The pandemic hit, I stopped going into OT, PT, and I was just doing exercises on my own, but I definitely
Mhm.
felt like I'd hit a plateau and I needed something to kind of like kickstart that journey again, because
Mhm.
I do believe that there's neuroplasticity in the brain. And I do think that hope isn't done for me just because it's been 8 years after my injury. So I thought that I could still make improvements. Yes, it might be slower and it might be a lot harder, but I do think that it's still possible. So when I found out about neuroanimation, initially, I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical. I was just like,
Oh,
how can this
what?
help?
Yeah, 100%. It sounds crazy.
It sounds
Like,
crazy, and it's
yeah.
like you're playing a game and like I don't understand how I can make gains when I'm a chronic stroke patient. It's not like I
Right.
had a stroke yesterday or even last
Right.
year. Like I was at the time that I went to neuroanimation, I was 8 years
Yeah,
post
8 years post-stroke, which is like
and there are no options for you. Doctors don't tell you
right.
that there's options beyond that.
The question was, like, you heard about neuroanimation, but what made you were skeptical when you heard about it, but what made
Oh, what
you
made me decide
decide
to
to try
go?
it? Yeah.
Yes, so I heard about neuroanimation, and for the listeners who don't know what it is, essentially they call it a theater. You're in a
Mhm.
room and you play a game moving your affected limb around to control magical sea creatures. And it's
Mhm.
really fun. You do that and then you do more functional tasks outside in like the main gym area, and then you go back in and play the game for another hour. And I did the boot camp, which meant I stayed in Ohio for 3 weeks straight. And I did this 15 sessions, so 5 days a week, 3 hours a day.
Mhm.
And I was skeptical, but like I said, I was chronic at this point and I'm willing to try anything, right? Like I'd
Yeah.
heard about it. I said, you know what? Why not give it a try? I have nothing to lose. If it doesn't work, then like it doesn't work, but maybe it is possible for me to
Yeah.
continue to make gains. So I just went in with an open mind and I thought I would try it. And when I first started, it was fun, don't get me wrong. Excuse me. I really enjoyed it and I liked the therapy and the team is amazing and I loved all the coaches, but I still thought, how is this actually going to translate into real functional gains for me?
Right.
And then I realized, because like you said, my hand was kind of more like in a fist. Like it was really hard for me to open my
Mhm.
hand.
And
Um,
your wrist was
yeah,
flexed and your
flexed.
thumb was in, and it was
Wrist inflection, my thumb is
mhm.
like bending underneath, like,
Yeah.
all the stuff you don't want to be happening. And when I started doing neuroanimation, the first time I went was May of 2025. After those 3 weeks, I noticed my pinky and ring finger were starting to open up. I saw that my hand was also looser. Like I remember I went to church, I think, like maybe a
Mhm.
month or so after with my mom. And she, we're doing like the Lord's Prayer or something, and she takes my hand. And then after church, she was like, Maddie, your hand is like so much looser. So
Yeah.
that in and of itself was like a really cool thing to hear. Because she hadn't seen me in a few weeks since I
Yeah.
had gone. So for her to notice something like that, like, and it's easier to manipulate my hand into a straightened position. So that in and of itself was good. I enjoyed the boot camp so much. I came back in September
Mhm.
after it. So I came for a second round in September and I thought, I've done it once. I saw some gains, but like it's not going to happen for me again the second time. It's just not. Like,
Yeah.
my body's used to it. Like it's
You're
done this
skeptical
before.
again going, "No
Yeah.
way. How's this
I
gonna
was
help?"
skeptical
Yeah.
again. But Pam, my middle and index fingers started to open that time. It was
That's
like, that is crazy.
crazy.
My thumb was still bent though.
I remember seeing a video of you after that one where you actually opened the door.
And you've been to the neuroanimation center.
Yes,
You know how
it's
heavy
heavy.
that door is.
I was, like, shocked when I saw that. I was like, "How did Maddie just do that?"
And what's crazy is like I do my session in the morning because I have a
Mhm.
job, so I need to work. And so I'm always bringing my coffee in,
Mhm.
but the door is so heavy to get in. I have to set down my coffee and then open it with my right
Yeah.
hand, then hold the door with my foot, pick up the
Yeah.
coffee, and go inside.
It's
But
complex.
then
Yeah.
one day I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try and see if I can use my hand to do it. And I opened that heavy door with my left hand and just like walked in like a normal person who didn't have
Ah!
who has something in my hand. And I was so happy about that.
Yeah.
And
And
that
that's a huge milestone, like, people don't understand that doesn't happen.
yeah, no,
Like,
it sounds
it's
like a
not
small
normal.
deal,
Yeah.
but it is a big deal. And
Yeah.
when this is like your life every day, and maybe
Yeah.
moms watching this that like maybe they have kids with disability, or maybe you have a disability or something, like
Mhm.
then it's not easy. So I was thrilled about that I came back for a third time in
Yeah.
January, and that's when you and I met.
Yeah.
And that time, my thumb is opening more. Like my thumb would always be
Stuck.
bent underneath like
Uh-huh.
that, and my hand was opening, but the thumb was getting caught underneath. And now my thumb is opening. It's not perfect and it doesn't extend all the way, but
Yeah.
it's starting to. And that alone is just encouragement for me to keep going. There
That's
isn't a limit.
incredible. Yeah. And that's what I think is so amazing is it you felt so skeptical about it, but you were in an impossible situation where everyone, like, I don't know a doctor that wouldn't say to you, "Well, this is what you have." Like,
Yeah, this is just your
there
life.
this is just your life. Just deal with this stuck hand. I mean, because there isn't anything out there. There's nothing that exists that's going to improve your hand function right now.
Mm.
There's not anything going, "Oh, we can help you get your hand open." Um, and so that's what I think so incredible about it. And I know that you do a lot of work in between and keep that progress going. And I think that's what I've observed about neuroanimation is it helps people get this jump in
Mhm. Yes,
skill,
a jump
and then you
start.
work on it, and then you go back, you get another jump start. And, I'm so excited for this with pediatric clients because I think they're extremely neuroplastic, a young
Definitely, and I feel like
child.
the earlier you start,
Yeah,
if I'd known about this, like, a year, 2 years after my
yeah.
recovery, like, imagine I'd probably be, like, close to perfect by
So,
now.
so far along, yeah. And tell me also cognitively, did you notice any? I know that wasn't a huge deficit area for you, but did you notice like your processing speed
So
or
yes,
anything
and
like that? Like what's
that's a good point. So I did. They do. There's certain assessments that we do when we're
Mhm.
at the Center in NeuroAnimation, and I noticed that my cognitive scores were going up kind of a lot, and my memory, and I noticed my processing speed, my reaction time was another one that was good,
Going up?
that
Mhm.
improved.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like now this is just what I don't. This hasn't been tested or anything, but going off of how I feel that my fatigue is better. I get
That's good.
cognitive fatigue, and maybe viewers also do or have children who get like neuro fatigue when you yeah, I don't know. It's common for stroke survivors, like when you have a
Yeah.
disability. Like I used to be so tired. And I still go to bed early and everything, but I find that I have more energy, or maybe I'm just better at allocating my resources. I
Yeah.
don't know.
That's really amazing. I have read that. I mean, the data shows the average increase on the Dana, which is a standardized cognitive tool that's used pre and post, and the military uses the Dana. So
Hmm.
anybody that has a family member or knows anyone that's been served in the military, it's a common standardized assessment used, and the average gain is 38% pre neuroanimation and post neuroanimation.
Also, my mood is through the
Mhm.
roof when I do it too.
Yeah.
And I do virtual reality therapy with the neuroanimation games
Uh-huh.
when I'm not at the center. And that also helps elevate my mood a lot too. So that also has been a big improvement. I mean, my mood was always pretty good, but it can always
Mhm.
be better.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. So, I think you're a great person to explain to moms listening of the possibility. Like neuroanimation's opening in Lexington, Kentucky. The first one opened in Columbus, Ohio, and that this is a real possibility. It's not covered by insurance. However, moms are fierce advocates and figure out a way. I've seen moms figure out a way for intensive type model therapy. And I think asking questions, reading, we there's a website, neuroanimation.com, that you can find out more information on. And
Oh,
as
you'll see me on
well,
the website too.
yeah.
You'll
And
see my picture on there.
we'll definitely put your link as well to your some of your social media because they can see your videos. There's lots
Oh,
of videos,
yeah.
and we'll show some videos in this episode here. So, how do you think um, moms like what do you think their process should be to investigate is it right for their child? So you investigated, is this right for me? And really you just took a risk. That's what I heard
Yeah.
you say. You just took a risk. So if moms are willing to take a risk, if you have a child with ADHD that's pretty significant, maybe you have an 8, 9-year old that's really struggling, you want to go a non-medication route, this is an incredible option. I would have picked that. I raised a child with severe ADHD. I would have loved to have this as an option back then, um, to really help with executive function, also dyslexia. We've had young clients who post neuroanimation are now decoding words and able to read hard
Yeah.
words and improve just their reading to where they've made those big gains and now they're off learning and they'll probably do it again, make big gains. And I think about the possibility of what if a child's journey, when you think about dyslexia or ADHD, so much intervention over 8, 9, 10 years or lots of years. What if you could shrink that down? you know, to 2 years, 3 years,
Hmm.
and their child really be, um, making incredible progress in a shorter amount of time. That's what I think about. So I wanna make sure that, we get all of your smart thoughts about what would you like to say to moms or people listening, because lots of them know someone who's had a stroke or a TBI, a
Hmm.
traumatic brain injury, or maybe something neurologic that's happened. Um, what would you say to them?
I mean, you mean if they're interested in
Yeah,
neuroanimation?
yeah.
I would say just like talk to the team. The team is super knowledgeable. They're all very caring and supportive.
Mhm.
And, one thing that helped me is like maybe, sorry, let me start that again. I would say also hearing the testimonials of people who've gone through it.
Mhm.
Like I've talked to so many people now who there's been a ton of clients at NeuroAnimation now, and I've talked to a bunch of them, and just hearing them also say what their gains are, like it makes me think like, wow, it's amazing. Like I know some people who have had visual improvements, who have their vision get better and their prescription
Right.
changes, things like that, just like crazy. Cognitive scores going like super high. Like a friend of mine who did it, she was a physicist before her stroke and after she couldn't. And now she's back to being like a world class physicist again. And it's
Right.
amazing. Like
She's
there's
back to work. That's
she,
life-changing. Yeah.
yeah, like really cool things. So, I mean, anyone listening, please reach out to me if you want to talk more. I love talking about this kind of stuff because I found it to be so helpful. But yeah, I would just say talk to the team and they can also
Yeah.
direct.
And I can see, the goal of starting it more quickly, like right when you get out of a rehab hospital or
Right.
right, when the child's maybe first diagnosed or whatever, getting to start it along in your journey. And, people may still have therapy like OTPT or speech, but this will get them the jump start on new skills, and they may actually,
Definitely.
need a PT or an orthotist to help them with a foot brace or, something
Hmm.
that's very specific to them. So I am super excited about your story and so many who have found help through neuroanimation and the possibility of, this growing and more people getting the opportunity. We're
Definitely.
we're going to have 4 studios here, so 4 studios or
Wow.
theaters here ready to help people, and by the time this airs, we'll be open.
Yeah.
So it's so exciting. And we'd love for our listeners to find out more information and check out Maddie's socials and check her out because she's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Shoot me a message. I'm always happy to connect with moms or anyone within the disability community and talk about resources.
Yeah. Well, Maddie, I really appreciate your wisdom today and you being willing, so vulnerable to share your story. It's not an easy one, but you have one of the most positive outlooks of anybody I've met. And I really
Thank
admire
you,
you.
Sam.
I admire you a lot. You're
Thank you.
fantastic. So thanks.
Thank you for having me. All right.